What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here with Billy Schmid after practice number 11 here at Green Bay Packers training camp. Carry the G radio, the blue.
Because it means that we just finished up a practice. It means that games are about to kick off. And it also means, Nags, that once again, we get to talk kicker competition, which has slowly become my favorite conversation daily.
I will say, let's lead with that, shall we?
Since I know
last time we jawed, you were feeling pretty smug. You were feeling pretty.
I was feeling good. I was feeling good
about Joseph having a decent command of the situation. I think that's all been blown apart these last two practices. I think after family night and then after what we witnessed today, both kickers going 4 of 7. Now, there was a lot of wind out there, but there will be wind in the games.
Yeah.
So
well, and I think the part of it, and it was funny, we were going back and forth on the radio show while it's happening.
Right.
There's different parts of each guy's game that you have to clear up the conversation. Today was probably a bigger conversation for Joseph because what's the biggest question? How is he going to kick outdoors for
the Lambeau
17
misses
games?
Loom large from his time with the Vikings.
Well,
right?
and just how often you hear people talk about it, kickers, how difficult it is with the new expansion, with the win, like you mentioned, his kicks in Lambeau. That's a part of it for them to be neck and neck after it. I think it's a real legit 2-horse race that goes. I mean, people are trying to predict it. Nags, I think they're going to go all 3 preseason games.
I think there's a good chance, especially if they continue going down this road with guys, somewhat. I know Joseph just went on a great stretch, but Carlson started camp absolutely on fire.
Yep.
So it's like one guy falls back. I think they will. Let it go, ride it through preseason. Because why wouldn't you? You've got those opportunities to watch both of them kick in game day situations. I suspect you're right. I think that's going to go all 3 games.
Well, and Kuhn made a good point about it too. Like, depending on how they divvy it up during the games, if it's legitimately every other guy, what if, Anders' 2 opportunities are 50-plus yarders and Joseph's are down the middle 34 yards. And it makes it adds to the opportunity. A couple of them could be extra points. You'd maybe like to see Anders in those situations.
I was just going to say, if it is extra points, I hope it's Anders. Let's get those yips out of the way in the preseason.
So
God knows.
that part of it is fascinating, where they're going to have to be able to mimic what they want here, be able to pick and pinpoint the spots that they want to see here. But realistically, I think it's going to be the just sheer opportunities that happen in the games that end up kind of deciding where this thing goes.
There's no question that we're all going to be on like pins and needles a little bit watching these kicks throughout the preseason. I'm there on camp. I got body English, like watching the kick kind of drift to the left. I'm like, oh, come on, get inside. Like, today, Carlson's first miss, left hash. It was like we were right back in San Francisco.
And that was a tough one. That was the one that was very errant. Yeah, very wide. Yeah.
Wide but again, the wind. Who knows?
Yeah, 100%. It's just
that's legit. It's a legit issue. Like, I'm not trying to dismiss it.
I love it because we're going through and everyone's got their numbers right. 4 7, and then now people
Do you have him missing from 43. Like, what?
I would love to see Domofsky's just rundown of every single kick throughout all of camp at the end, because I think he's adding in the percentages all in. Like, it's beautiful work.
Oh, absolutely.
To then. Like, that's what we believe it is. All right, sheer numbers are he's 91.2% compared to 89.6%. Completely might be different from what the real deciding factor is there. Right. It's like prospects in baseball where, we see the top 100 list. That doesn't mean shit when you're talking to a certain general manager that's making the decision. They can have them listed and their differences all over.
Although I will say, it does get kind of cut and dry once you start talking about field goal kicking. I want you to make it.
Yeah, you would think. I just think maybe this year the kicking off portion maybe adds in a little bit different layer to it.
And being the holder as well.
Sure.
But ultimately, I want you to make your kicks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, let's drop the thing through the uprights and not necessarily worry about anything.
We just spent 4 minutes talking about the kicker competition. I think that's pretty impressive.
Well, it's the best position battle, right? Because, I mean, like, all the other ones seem like they're kind of sorting themselves out.
Right? I wanted to talk about that. I like the fact that they put out the non-official depth chart yesterday. Had to give Matt a little grief about that in the presser this morning. But Jordan Morgan, there with the ones at right guard. Fascinating to see Sean Ryan not get that nod as the vet coming back, so to speak. I understand it's the first-round pick, but it's interesting to me that there hasn't been more kind of turn there as far as not just those two. I thought there'd be a bit more kind of looks for more guys at right guard with the ones. Now I know with the 2s and 3s, fat guys shuttling in and out all the time. But man, they really want. It feels like they really want Morgan to win that gig.
Yeah, I agree with you. And now you'd be able to tell me better because I did see him messing around with the trainer a little bit.
He dropped out today.
He come back? No, okay. I didn't see him come back. So
we'll have to ask tomorrow morning.
And it'll be interesting to see how they end up, how you capitalize on the situation. As bad as it sounds, that's what it is. It's an opportunity.
Exactly.
And you have to be able to take that and run with it if you're Sean Ryan, because Jordan Morgan has, at least from my estimation, he's made the most of just about every rep he's gotten,
totally
right?
Agree.
Even the one he lost, I'm thinking the first day in pads, it actually would be like the third day in pads during the week last week. They're one-on-ones. He loses the first rep, wins the next two. Last one may have been a toss-up, but you just see him be able to translate right after the coaching. I don't necessarily think they realized how quickly they would like his pass blocking inside.
Because that's Sean Ryan's weaker
that's
part of his game, right?
That's his weak
all
point.
we heard from Steno last year. Like, you need more consistency there. You look at what Jordan Morgan's doing. I agree, especially today before he dropped out. They did the one-on-ones, and he was pretty lights out. Like, I was impressed as far as like really, because you know how those one-on-ones go, especially with the big guys. It can get messy, and you're like, who won that one? Not sure.
It can get real cloudy. Yeah.
But he was like locked in and just controlling it today in a way that I haven't seen from him so far.
And he really, just nerdy offensive line talk is he really just posted it up really well where you're able to set, because at that spot, you have to give a little bit. But at some point, right-handed quarterback, right guard, you got to set a pocket. You got to set it down.
Set that wall.
And it's going to have to, it was 2 to 3 yards, and then it was locked in. Like that's an impressive thing for somebody that is going from being on the outside dealing with the most athletic cats in the world to
more
TJ Slayton 340 pounds in front of you, or Devontae Wyatt 300 some pounds of you. I wonder though, Nags, and this will be something to ask Matt tomorrow, and then we see how it plays out for the next week or so. It might not be done now that Zach Tom's back in line.
That's a big component
at the right tackle spot of how you work together.
Huge component as far as who gets maybe not even the most comfortable, but who seems to be clicking the best.
And who complements each other the best.
Exactly. You want the 5, right? Matt says it all the time. The best 5. Well, how are you working with that right tackle? Are you getting the calls correct? Are you handling the adjustments? And are you guys passing things off like the way it should be? I'll say this today, the offense, as has been the case often, like they had a struggle through a couple of different periods.
Yeah.
Matt Lafleur, he got after it today, like vocally, in a way I haven't heard, especially this year.
Good, because somebody that had headphones on, I wasn't able to hear as much of this.
There were a few F-bombs dropped,
now
and there were a few, this is the way I can want it, and like, Matthew Lafleur has shown up today. It was interesting because I got to think, coming off a family night, vibes are great, but now you got to get back to work. The guys are in half pads today, just shorts, probably a little bit. Okay, yeah, we're hanging.
Now
cool.
It's game week. Now we're going.
I felt like Matt wanted to make sure, no, we're still fucking working here.
Well, because they did just break camp too, right?
Right.
Now they're back home. So there's a part of it that the intensity is going to be here. I love the fact that he had a little bit of a swing on that, not being able to hear it personally. I'd love to be able to get that footage. Packers.com has to have some of
that's
content.
That's what sucks, though.
Some of the audio.
You're not allowed to relay what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's part of the gig with the credential. But I'm like, he got after it. It was
well, and you can feel it too. And we could all feel his energy on an optimistic, excited fan energy side on Saturday night. 2024 is going to be a great year for all of us.
How awesome was that? Like right into the mic.
When have you heard a Packers coach talk like that into a microphone?
I mean, I lost my mind when he said that. I was phenomenal. Where were you for family night, by the way? Were you here?
No, I was back at the station.
You were at the station.
Yep, I was back at the station.
I just, how it is, like you're running around doing other things, but like, what did you think of family night? What was your takeaway?
Well, I loved how long it was.
Well, it was long because they had like an hour and a half of fucking punting.
Well, and they actually weren't, interrupted by a rainstorm or a thunderstorm for once, right? So I thought that was my favorite part of the The people that come here, dude, like you want to be able to enjoy all night.
Yep.
And I listened to you after. That was a part of it where it is a vibe to catch, where it's just pure unadulterated love of Packers football. So that was the main takeaway for me.
Yeah.
I just thought the part of them being a little bit more live, being able to go live for 10 minutes or
10
so
plays or something, like,
you're throwing a little bit of a bone, but it also does. I just, from the head coach perspective of this, because to me, it's another practice, right?
Yep. It was practice number 10.
I just like that Matt has shown a propensity the last couple of years to be open to adjusting his philosophies on things.
Yeah.
Right. Like preseason is a part of it. Camp is a part of it.
Point in that, I was just going to ask you about that because, I mean, I don't think you have a bigger example of that than playing as many starters as he did last year in the preseason. Said today, point blank, Jordan's playing on Saturday. Playing in Cleveland. I mean, that is obviously an about face from when Aaron was in town. Now, Aaron was a very accomplished quarterback, had won MVPs. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I also know Matt's got to be still probably bitter and pissed about how bad they looked that week 1 game down in Jacksonville against the Saints and thinking, I'm never going to be in that position again.
Can you correct me? 19, Rodgers wouldn't have played. 2020, there was not preseason.
Right.
The other part of it is, Nags, like think about where he came from. Sean McVay is regarded as pretty good NFL head coach, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good. His first year, one of his first couple of years, he takes over the Rams. Doesn't play a single soul. They go 5-0.
Yep.
So there's a lot of people that are in the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan group that are like,
just going to say,
we're not
Shanahan
doing it.
does the same thing.
We're not doing it.
I'll never forget that first year in 19 when Matt was here. That first preseason game, I think it was at Lambeau, and we got that PR handout of who wasn't playing, and it was like
laundry list,
a CVS receipt of like all the players you know.
Yeah.
Anybody's heard of. Not playing tonight.
That poor PA announcer saying, all right, inactives for the Green Bay Packers, number 1. It just keeps going. So
I just think the ability to kind of get in sync in a live environment is proving too valuable, especially for such a young team. You got to get out there because look, I know Matt and a lot of like coaches have talked about like the value of the joint practices especially, but just practice in general. You're still not going to the ground. You're still not as physical as you are in a game. And it matters. It matters, especially on offense with your timing. You're talking about route concepts being run the right way, marrying that with the quarterback's feet. You're trying to do all that in the live environment for the first time. I don't want that down in Brazil.
Yeah.
I want that in Cleveland on Saturday.
For sure. And I don't necessarily think it's as much for me the on-field part of it. I think it's the process of everybody getting on the field, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
that's fair.
Hearing Jeff Halfley call the defense for a couple of plays, whether or not it's 7 plays that the starting defense is out there, hearing that, understanding, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
I'm hearing this a lot with like Caleb Williams down in Chicago, where he's like, I don't feel pressure. Like there's really no issue. I'm prepared for whatever it is that you don't feel the pressure if you're prepared. I don't necessarily know that you're prepared for things you don't know you should be prepared for yet if you haven't been on an NFL game field. So to be able to hear a new coordinator calling a defense, seeing his little trips to the trigger, and just getting yourself into a full pregame routine, I don't see anything bad of that. But then get on the field. Let's get off there and
get out.
Let's take those shoulder pads off pretty early.
Speaking of Williams, you gonna be watching Hard Knocks tonight? A little Chicago Bears action. A little peek behind the curtain of the enemy.
Yeah, in between some film breakdowns, because while pro football is starting up here, high school football is starting up today. So luckily, the 9 p.m. start for Hard Knocks is always a good one.
Coach in the house right here. There we go.
I got the coaching shirt on.
Yeah,
more importantly, it's because it's a little more forgiving. I use the Tenty coach shirts.
You're right. I use black to hide the fact
it's
that
a good point. It's just as long as you can get the
slimming power of black.
I was wearing it this was 2 years ago, the coaching gear, and I was wearing it last year, and all the other coaches looked at me like, you like that thing? It's like, this is my favorite piece of clothing I own. You know why?
Ever?
Because it doesn't make me look too fat. Now, it is Tenty, you can tell.
It's Tenty.
But you can, it covers up some of the, doesn't accentuate certain things that generally white is doing.
I'm just, it's exciting when the high school football starts up, the competition locally between the schools and the rivalries.
Waupong's already number 1 in the state.
Come on, Waupong kid. Let's go.
That is
my goodness. I mean, that was impressive. That was a lot of fun. You can't deny it. Like, that's,
Dude.
talk about a great moment.
Listen, and I'm not going to be, might sound hyperbolic.
Right.
If the Packers win the Super Bowl,
that's where it started.
That will be it will be a part of the 1 hour America's game.
The America's game.
Yeah.
Right?
That clip
NFL
of
films.
Everybody jumping around is going to be a part of the 1 hour special that
with
NFL
a bond
does.
formed early in the days of training camp. Like, that'll be the framing of it.
In the Green Bay heat early in August, the temperature and tundra far from frozen. The fears were embedded all over the National Football Conference. Something like that.
It's pretty good.
Should get a John. Somehow somebody's got to be able to John Facenda AI.
Well, I was just going to say, we need a Facenda AI.
That would be fantastic.
Somebody out there in this audience I know is working on some kind of AI project. I need you. Underline, italicize, need you to get on that.
Okay, so, and I don't mean to hijack this, but one of the things from one of your chats, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, somebody asked you about AI. In terms of football, how teams are utilizing it.
And I said, I was pretty kind of, I'm not negative, but I doubt it's being used extensively in any meaningful way. That doesn't mean it can't be like somewhere.
Yeah.
Not that I've read or heard.
No, and I immediately went to, how on earth could you? Because people have thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
And finding different ways to enhance the productivity. Man, you go to one of these Packers practices, see 45 different people running around making sure that everything is tip-top shape. I don't believe AI can be as efficient necessarily as that.
My thing, I did think about it a little bit. I was thinking possibly, how like you want to, Matt talks about doubling the reps in a single drill as much as you can, right? Well, how can you take that a step further as far as getting as many reps for the offense as possible without even needing the defense? Well, let's get them a huge kind of, now I'm talking like 30 years, 40 years down the line, but some kind of volume like they used in Mandalorian, and then have AI as your kind of operating the defensive players who aren't actually there in space, but they're giving you a representation of like the blitz call or the coverage or whatever. And then you guys run. It's almost like a 7-on-7, but you're with a full group and you can utilize whatever play you're running against cover 2, cover 1, cover 3, like a zone blitz, all this stuff. And you're doing that all just with the offense.
Yeah.
There's no defense necessary.
I'm also just fascinated how open people would be to the parts of the conversation when somebody pitches it, right? Because somebody in the tech department pitches it. Like, I think about this from last year's Hard Knocks.
Analytics to become accepted in buildings like that.
Yeah, and then as everything, once we like it, then we go way overboard. And then sometimes you rein it back in, and ultimately the ones that are able to are the best with it. Like, I think about it, last year's Hard Knocks, Tua with the camera on his helmet.
Right.
If you don't believe everybody across all NFL buildings were like, we're going to do that and see if it works. We're going to do that and see if it works. Because I saw Kirk Cousins doing the same thing this year. Now, I don't know that he's done it before, but I don't think so. You just see teams be any way that you can learn mentally, put yourself, like you said, in a rep, without putting your body in it, in the environment,
with no fear of.
They're going to try something.
You've literally eliminated the fear of injury for half the squad there.
Yeah,
but you've only got 11 instead of 22.
No, I was listening to it, and on my drive up today, I consumed a large portion of my drive where I was sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, all right, this isn't like brought to you by a certain amount of milligrams, right? And I'm like, no, but because teams are definitely thinking of different ways to implement and utilize that technology.
I mean, because it's there, why not get an edge with it?
Yes,
that's
100%.
I'll never forget when McCarthy was asked about analytics, when analytics was first becoming a thing, right? But I will say, to his eternal credit, he gave a really good answer. He was like, well, certainly that's an area we want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's the attitude.
That's the attitude. Yes.
The attitude you want. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know how you're going to make AI work, but if that's an area where you can get an edge and compete,
you better figure it out.
You better believe you got to dive into that shit. So,
Amen.
Speaking of AI, needing AI, that's what I needed when we faced off, Billy and I, NCAA
no one's gonna bring that
football,
up.
Man. The other day,
Raging Cajuns are a dangerous squad, man.
We had LSU versus
Louisiana, baby. Raging Cajuns.
I lost by 1. I could have took it to overtime,
but you smartly went for the game winner.
I tried to get the angle route. You were all over it. I will say, I feel like Heller afterwards asked if you were going all out, and I got to admit there were moments in the game where I'm like, he's taking it easy on
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah, it felt
no.
like it.
Because the problem with that game, the moment you take your
you
foot
let up, yeah,
over. Like yesterday, where I then threw I think 4 or 5 of the worst interceptions of all time. And I rage quit. And then I got a text from a friend of mine and said, "You're saltier than a saltine right now." I said, "Yeah, I'm not turning this game off. Turning this game on again." So did you end up buying it? Because you were pretty excited.
I'm going as soon as I get back to New York. Zero question. Absolutely. You made me a believer. One game in, I'm all in. And what's crazy now, I played one game on that thing, and I'm not only consumed with the idea of getting it and playing it a lot, but now I'm actually reading college football shit. Like looking at college football news.
Okay, you're interested in Saturday football now.
What did you do to me?
Come on, Saturday football is
My
different.
girlfriend is going to be so pissed at you, like so pissed. Because
Yeah,
I've already I'm already disappeared on Sundays, right? But now Saturdays are going to start creeping in. It ain't good.
See,
man.
but that's the best part. Now
good.
you can you play the game while she's there, and then you can adopt a team, and then that's the team you follow on Saturdays. And then all the other games are just a prelim to your game.
See, well, I was telling Billy, and I probably shouldn't say this in a microphone, but I'm going to. I don't give a crap.
No one's listening. It's just
no one, like exactly. Our 3 listeners. They're the secret.
300,000 listeners.
But I legit have started playing Madden when my girlfriend comes over because we do with the Patreon, on Cheesehead TV. You can challenge me to a game of Madden. But I play a lot more than just once or twice a week. I play all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. So my girlfriend and I are moving in together in October. So I'm trying to sow the seeds, lay the groundwork.
Ease it in.
Your boyfriend plays a whole lot of Madden, so she's come over now 3 or 4 times, and I've just happened to be on the
somebody had just challenged me.
I'm just playing a Patreon member. It's not a Patreon member.
Why does that
I'll be done in a second.
Sorry, honey. I apologize. I can't pause it. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's a league game, Smokey. We can't
God, that is awesome. Yeah, it's the better one is, when are you going to then decide, I'm just going to go full on, let her know that the Xbox is staying in the living room, right? For me, when the PlayStation stayed in the living room, that was there's really no moment. There's no turning back.
That's a moment.
This is what we're into.
This is what we're in for. No return.
But I also was early on of, hey, if this is going to work out, there's going to have to be 2 TVs in this living room.
Wow, 2 TVs.
2 TVs makes it a little easier. So I think you just set that ground rule right away. You say, listen, 2 TVs got to happen.
I don't know. I live in New York, man. We got small spaces.
That's fair. You got no room for that. You're lucky if you get 2 bathrooms.
The whole living room, probably. I don't think we're going to need that. I don't know. It depends on the space we find, but I'm suspecting not.
I wouldn't need 2 TVs if I had this beautiful view, though.
There you go. I mean, Corey Banke just kicking it across.
Even though I say that, and there's, I think, 5 in here, so it makes sense.
I love it. Well, Billy, we've wasted enough time with our talk of video games and Lambeau Field.
I apologize.
I can't tell you how great it's been to just be with you.
It's amazing.
For a couple weeks and do this. We'll be back remote next week, but this has been awesome.
It's like a throwback to the combine, man.
Right. Man, I can't wait to do that next year.
Next year, it's only going to get better next year.
We're going to do it up next year.
I can't wait, man.
But before that, what's going to happen?
Packers win the Super Bowl.
We're going to be at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be on Radio Row at the Super Bowl.
So this would be a good spot for the parade.
Yeah,
or the return to Titletown.
Come down Lombardi Avenue.
Yeah,
they're the boys in green and gold, and we're
Carry the G Radio, the podcast live while they're bringing the Lombardi Trophy home from New Orleans.
I love it.
Makes a whole lot more sense.
I'm a happy camper thinking I'm a part of it. I love it. I'm all in. That's Bill Schmidt. I'm Aaron Nagler. It's Carry the G Radio, the podcast, where I think we'll be on the air soon. I want to say when the season starts.
Yeah, I believe week 1 we fire up. So I will confirm that. Probably should have had my stats for sure.
I'll be just back from Brazil, and the Packers will be 1-0.
Son of a gun.
Can't wait, dude.
You're not going to have any fun on that trip.
No, none whatsoever. Yeah, it's going to be a ball.
Luckily, you're only working when you're playing Madden. You're only working.
I'm just working.
Not for fun.
I'm just working, Billy. I am a workaholic. That's what I do.
That's what people deserve.
That's Bill Schmidt. I'm Aaron Nagler, Carry the G Radio, the podcast. Find us on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, but especially at iHeart in the app. That's where you want to do it, really. I mean, where else? There are no other
no, there's no other one that has, a podcast awards, that is an award-winning app for live streaming audio day in and day out. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
It's the absolute
amazing.
best.
Find it there. He's Billy. I'm Aaron. Go Pack Go.